purpose and duration. You might ask what the purpose of all this is and why the God of the Bible allows this to occur. We can find the answer in the following verse. Reading Daniel 9:24.
77s are decreed for your people and your holy city, to finish transgressions, to put an end to sin, to atone for the wickedness, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy place.
First, notice who the decreed is for: the Jewish people, Daniel's people. It says, your people, your holy city. God set aside 77s to fulfill all these things through the Jewish people. I will not explain each point of the decree here, but I only wanted you to know there is a purpose and a duration associated with it. You see, 77s are allotted to fulfill God's purpose, and the Bible defines 1/7 as a 7-year block of time, 1 week. To understand this, think of the word dozen. If I told you I gave my spouse 2 dozen of flowers, you would understand this to mean 24 flowers. 2 times 12 equals 24, because 1 dozen equals 12. The concept is the same here. God tells us He allotted 77s, 70 weeks, to fulfill His purpose, and 70 weeks is equivalent to 490 years. Now remember that Daniel's vision concerns a time in the future. You see, Daniel saw 490 years of the future. In Daniel 9:25 through 26, we can understand that 69 weeks were completed at the death of Jesus Christ, leaving 1 final week to fulfill God's purpose. Looking back, we can confirm that 69 weeks have already passed and 1 final week, 1 7-year period, remains. After the death of Jesus Christ, we transition into the church age, or the age of grace. At some point in the future, the church age will end, the final week or the 70th week will commence, and God will return His focus back to the Jewish people to complete His purpose. The final week, the time of wrath. Reading Daniel 9:27.
He will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7. In the middle of the 7, He will put an end to sacrifice and offering. And at the temple, He will set up an abomination that causes desolation, until the end that is decreed is poured out on Him.
Who is He in verse 27? He is the little horn in Daniel 8:9. He is the fierce-looking king in Daniel 8:23. The king confirms a covenant or peace agreement with many for 7 years to allow the Jewish people to start their holy rituals, sacrifice, and offering. Verse 27 suggests a 3rd temple will be built and the Jewish people will be allowed to worship in it momentarily. Now, in the middle of the 7-year agreement, at the 3.5-year mark, the king will stop the rituals and set up an abomination that causes desolation. This 7-year period starts when the king confirms an agreement and ends when the king is destroyed. So, what is this abomination and the desolation it causes? These are great questions, and I will answer the first question in the next reading. However, the desolation in this passage is the persecution and the killing of the holy people. It is also the destruction of truth and the surrendering of the temple. There is much to be said about this desolation, and I will add more details during our reading of Matthew 24. Now, pay close attention to what I will say next. This desolation will continue until the end, that is decreed, is poured out on the king. You see, there is a particular time when God will begin to pour something onto the world, and this pouring will mark the beginning of the end. When the pouring starts, the end for this king will begin, and the pouring will last until he is destroyed. I believe the time when God starts to pour is the appointed time of the end, as it marks a time when the Word of God converges. Now, what I mean by the Word of God converging is that the Bible passages or verses from other parts of the Bible point to the exact moment on a timeline. We can find one example in Daniel's vision. Reading Daniel 8:13 through 14.
Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, "How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled?" The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that causes desolation, the surrender of the sanctuary, and the trampling underfoot of the Lord's people. He said to me, "It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings. Then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated."
At the end of Daniel's vision, two angels are having a conversation. One angel asks, "How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled?" And then he narrows the scope of the vision that pertains to his question. The other angel responded with 2,300 evenings and mornings. Now, this response is very interesting. Why not just say 2,300 days? One thing I am learning while studying and reading the Word of God is to pay attention to the details, and his response is one of those details. I broke down in tears in a cafe when the Lord gave me this understanding of the 2,300 evenings and mornings and not days. Let me just say that the angel responded appropriately, and had he said days, his response would be unclear. This is one of the many experiences I had while reading the Word of God. The 2,300 evenings and mornings count begins at the beginning of the 7-year period and ends on the 2,300th evening and morning, well into the second part of the 70th week. The persecution starts at the abomination and will last for 1,040 evenings and mornings. Then the killing will stop, leaving 220 days for God to fulfill his purpose before the 70th week expires. You see, there are 220 days the Lord's people are not persecuted. So what happened at the end of the 2,300th morning? Why did the persecution stop? It stopped because the appointed time of the end began. You see, the pouring started. Now, how do I know this is the correct understanding? The Bible has much to say about this morning, and the truth is hidden in plain sight. In the next video, I will give you 3 examples of the text converging onto this morning. First, I will show you why 2,300 evenings and mornings and not days is correct. Second, the end of the persecution of the holy people. And third, when God begins to pour. I am so excited to share these details with you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe so that you can be notified when the next video is released. The King's Exaltation. Reading Daniel 11:36.
The king will do as he pleases. He will exalt and magnify himself above every god, and will say unheard of things against the God of gods. He will be successful until the time of wrath is complete, for what has been determined must take place.
In this passage, we can see that the king has concluded that he is a god. With his ability to accomplish all that he pleases and to tap into divine power, he dares to offend the God of the Bible with unheard of things and exalts and magnifies himself above all gods. This is easy to understand. I want to make one more point about this passage though. Notice that the king will be victorious until the time of wrath is complete. You see, his success stops at the end of the time of wrath. So when does it begin? At a minimum, it begins wherever the king is victorious. And one of the king's successes is the confirmation of the agreement. This confirmation ushers the final 7 years onto the earth and allows the holy people to resume their holy rituals with a sense of security. In the middle of this period, the rituals are stopped, the abomination is set up, the temple is surrendered, and the persecution begins. You see, the time of wrath is the entire 7 years, including the pouring, which is the appointed time of the end until the king is destroyed. Now back to the question, what is the abomination? I believe, and this is my personal belief, the king himself is the abominable thing. And when he walks into the temple and claims to be God, this is the abomination that causes desolation. You see, this act of claiming to be God and setting yourself up to be worshipped as God in God's temple causes desolation. This desolation comes from the pure hate for God, and destruction is directed to anything associated with the God of the Bible, and in this case, the holy people. Allow me to read one more passage to strengthen the details surrounding the abomination and desolation. The beast of the sea. You see, the final week, the 70th week, or the time of wrath, is an extraordinary period, and all humans will be at the mercy of this king. This king will be exceptional and far more powerful than any ruler who existed before him. He cannot be destroyed by the might of men, but only by the power of God. So, where does the king get his power? Who or what is advocating or assisting the king's success? We can find the answers in Revelation 13. I will not read the entire chapter here, but highly encourage you to read it for yourself, as it is rich with more details of the 70th week. Reading Revelations 13, 1 through 8.
The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on each horn and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. People worshiped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshiped the beast and asked, "Who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it?" The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who lived in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world.
You see, the beast in this passage is the fierce-looking king in Daniel. The dragon, who is Satan, see Revelations 20, verse 2, gives the beast, the king, his power, his throne, and his great authority. Notice how the world rallies behind the beast and worships him, and how the beast was given the power to wage war against God's holy people and conquer them. The beast was also given a mouth to blaspheme God. There are so many parallels here, giving us a great deal of confidence that the king is in fact the beast in this chapter. Now, pause the video and read the rest of the chapter for yourself. You will be introduced to the second beast, who is the false prophet, and he will create a system to force humans to worship the first beast. I'll circle back to this chapter and other parts of Revelation during our review in Matthew 24.